What's the latest with hashtag Don't Tax My Credit Union? And is there anything else of concern on the legislative front? We'll explore these topics on this episode of Headlines and Fine Print. Hello, and welcome to Headlines and Fine Print. I'm Dion Williams, President and CEO of Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. And just as a reminder, before we get into today's content, we have the show archived on our YouTube channel and Spotify. So if you'd like to learn more or listen to past episodes, I'd like to encourage you to follow our channels, like and share if you're so inclined. With no further ado, let's talk about the latest with hashtag Don't Tax My Credit Union and one more piece of legislation that's on our radar. To recap from a previous episode, the centerpiece of One Big Beautiful Bill from the new administration is tax cuts. We talked about the question that always follows tax cut discussions. How are we going to pay for them? And that's where credit unions enter the picture. An article from the Taxpayers Protection Alliance cites that removing the credit union income tax exemption would generate $30 billion over the next 10 years, or about $3 billion a year. We also discussed the fact that credit unions pay all kinds of taxes, with the exception being corporate income tax. Furthermore, the economic impact credit unions bring to their members, small businesses, and communities we serve dwarfs any potential revenue from imposing a corporate income tax on credit unions. So with that background in mind, where are we today? So far, it's good news. The credit union tax exemption was preserved coming out of the House Ways and Means Committee, as well as the final House bill that was passed and forwarded to the Senate for consideration. And while we appreciate the success that we've realized so far, the fight is far from over. The Senate can make amendments to the bill before they pass their own version. Then the difference between the House and Senate bills goes to what's called conference, where additional changes could be made when the two chambers arrive at an agreement on what the final legislation looks like. So as you can see, there's still work to be done to maintain the credit union tax exemption, but again, we feel good about where we're at so far. And as a reminder, the website, don'ttaxmycreditunion.org, that's don'ttaxmycreditunion.org, provides a wealth of information on how the credit union tax exemption continues to benefit individuals, small businesses, and communities. In addition, the website provides resources on contacting your elected representatives to show support for continuing the credit union tax exemption. Now, let's turn our attention to another piece of legislation that's on our radar, and it's called the Genius Act. It's funny how legislation has catchy names, yet, as they say, the devil's in the details. In this instance, the headline of the bill is about cryptocurrency, yet the fine print is where other items find their way into the legislation. And in this instance, it's language from the Credit Card Competition Act that has seen numerous unsuccessful attempts to be attached to other pieces of legislation. So let me explain why the credit card competition language is bad for consumers and financial institutions alike. About a decade ago, there was legislation regarding debit card interchange fees. Now, interchange fees are charged when you swipe your card, and the Durbin Amendment capped those fees. Sounds good so far, right? Well, merchants made the claim that the savings from capped interchange fees would be passed on to consumers. Yet, a study from the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond showed that was not the case at all. Furthermore, it's worth noting the interchange fees don't pad the bottom line of financial institutions. That income is used to offset the cost of having a secure card program. Fraud remains a big, expensive challenge for financial institutions. And as I've stated before, if Congress wanted to do something from a legislative perspective, they should apply the same data security standards to businesses that are applied to financial institutions and those in the healthcare sectors. The merchants wanted to have their cake and eat it too, so to speak. in terms of not having the same data security standards while capping the interchange fees and not passing along the savings to consumers. And those are simply the facts. Now, getting back to the Genius Act specifically, there's efforts to change the credit card interchange rules similar to what happened with debit cards several years ago. Let me provide a spoiler as to what will happen if it's successful. Merchants will not, and I repeat, merchants will not pass savings on to consumers. Merchants will continue to oppose any efforts to hold them to stricter data security standards. And last but not least, consumers will likely see rewards programs either restricted or eliminated. To use a sports analogy, sometimes the best offense is a good defense. And thus far, the defensive efforts have been successful on the Don't Tax My Credit Union front. Now, while our work is not finished there, we must also continue to pay close attention to the Genius Act. Credit unions are committed to protecting working class consumers, small businesses, and the communities we're honored to serve. I hope these updates are helpful in showing what we're doing to look out for you in our nation's capital. Thank you so much for joining us today for Headlines in Fine Print with Dion Williams, brought to you by Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. We'll launch new episodes each month and discuss topics that are relevant to your financial life. We have a wealth of resources on staff that can provide information on a variety of financial topics, and we look forward to sharing those with you. If you'd like to learn more about the credit union or how to become a member, we invite you to view our brand new website at pacu.com. Also, if you have questions about today's show or suggestions for content for future shows, feel free to reach out to me directly at 336-750-7088 or at dion.williams@pacu.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.